wanted to talk about, you might remember in our original story on how we got involved in real estate investment, one of the real aha moments that we had was figuring out the power of leverage. And that's what makes real estate and real estate investment so much different than a lot of other types of investment that you can make, is you can not only leverage your own money, but the really cool part, what we learned to be able to do, was to leverage other people's money. But that's a whole other topic, and we'll get into that one, leveraging other people's money, in other sessions. But right now we're going to talk about the power of leverage. I'm going to try to illustrate that so it's nice and simple and we can understand it. So let's use an example. So we have Mary and we have Sue, okay? And so Mary, she's a regular investor. So most investments out there, you'll notice, what you do is you take your money. So let's say you have, we'll use a round number because we're going to use real estate. So we'll say 500,000. So let's say Mary, she has 500,000, okay? 500K. And Sue, she also has 500,000, okay? Now if you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't have $500,000 to invest, don't worry about that. We'll get to that later. Right now we're just talking about the power of leverage and what makes real estate different from other types of investments that are out there. Okay, so Mary, she wants to buy a piece of real estate, okay? So she's gonna buy this house. Beautiful house, perfect investment property. You can attract really good tenants to it, awesome house. So this house here costs $500,000 to buy. Now, Mary has $500,000 in cash. So she uses her $500,000, she puts it on and buys it free and clear. She doesn't get a mortgage, okay? So she uses that money to buy the house. That's just like using your $500,000 and putting it into stocks. Using your $500,000, putting it into a mutual fund, or putting it into the bank and having them invest it for you. So any type of investment, you take your money, you put it on there, and hopefully you make a percentage on that money. Hopefully that money ends up going up in value. But here's the difference between Mary and Sue. Sue also has $500,000, and she's going to buy the exact same rental property, okay? So instead of using her $500,000 like Mary did, buying it free and clear, Sue's gonna take only $100,000 of that, and she's gonna go to the bank and get a mortgage for $400,000. So roughly 20%. And mostly for investors right now, you need to put 20% down to buy an investment property. That's kind of the industry standard. Some put 25% down. Some might put 30 or 35% down depending on the type of property that you end up buying. But vast majority right now, if it's residential real estate especially, are putting 20% down. You want to put the minimum amount down, and because that gives you the most amount of leverage. Okay, so in this case, remember, Mary put down $500,000. Sue only put $100,000 down and qualified for a mortgage for $400,000. So it's the same price house, but she has $100,000 in here. Now, 1 year goes by, okay? Now, in Canada and the United States, over the last 50 years, we've averaged roughly just over 5% appreciation per year. So does that mean real estate goes up 5% every single year? Well, of course not. We know that that's not the case. In fact, some years it goes up higher than 5%, and some years it goes down, or maybe even negative, and it goes down in value in some years. But if you take it over a 50-year span, we've averaged in North America roughly about 5% on average per year. But let's be a little bit more conservative. Let's say that it only goes up 4%, okay? Just to use a bit of a conservative number. Now, Mary put $500,000 into that house. It goes up 4% in value. That's a total of $20,000 that it's gone up. That means Mary's house, after the end of year one, is worth $520,000. Okay, so she made a 4% gain on the $500,000 investment. Same house, same location, same market, it goes up 4% as well for Sue, okay? But remember, that house now went up, is also worth $520,000. But what's the difference? The difference here is that Sue only invested $100,000 into it, okay? So instead of getting a 4% increase on her money, what Sue received here was a $20,000 bump in the property value, But $20,000 of her $100,000 investment is actually a 20% return on her investment. That's the difference. That's the power of leverage. On Sue's money of $100,000, she made a 20% return on year one. Why? Because she didn't sink all of her money into that investment. She leveraged, used the bank's money instead of all her own. Now, look at the opportunity that Sue has. If Sue did this 5 times, okay, so she used her full $500,000, she put her $100,000 into 5 houses. So now she's got 1, 2, 3, 4, plus her 5, she's got 5 houses. She put $100,000 on each one. That's $500,000, same amount of money that Mary invested in. And they were all worth that $500,000 amount. She would have bought $2.5 million worth of real estate with the same amount of money that Mary bought $500,000 worth of real estate. Now, let's assume, again, it goes up 4% in 1 year. Mary, we've already figured that out, made a 4% return, made $20,000, property value went up to $520,000. But Sue, because she used the bank's money, she put a $400,000 mortgage on every one of these houses, put $100,000 down on them. Now she has $2.5 million going up at 4%. What's that work out to be? That's a $100,000 gain on her money. So in the same year that Mary made $20,000, Sue made $100,000, buying the exact same house, the same market, going up the same amount. Here Sue is using leverage to her advantage. And that's the difference. That's the power of what real estate can do. And why? Well, most other investments out there, you can't go to the bank and they'll give you a mortgage on buying a stock. Or they won't give you a mortgage on buying bonds or mutual funds or investing in a GIC. See, you can't invest. What you're doing here is you're investing the bank's money along with your own. Yes, you put down 20%, but 80% of what you're making money on here, this $2.5 million going up in value, 80% of that is the bank's money that you're using, and you're making money off of that. Okay, so that's really what the power of leverage can do for you in real estate. And really, there's no other type of investment out there that can go up in value. And we're not even talking about the other ways that Mary and Sue made money on these houses. Mary made monthly cash flow on this house, and so did Sue, because Sue bought, and Mary bought, a property that rents for more than what their expenses are on a monthly basis. They picked the right property. They worked with the right people, and they were able to buy the right property. Okay, so that's really the power of leverage, is we're using someone else's money. We're using the bank's money in this case. Now, you might be thinking, all right, that's fine and dandy. What if I don't have the $100,000? Or what if I don't have the $500,000 to invest in something? How can I use real estate? And how can I use the power of leverage then? Well, the key is this $100,000 that Sue needed for each investment in each property. When we got involved in real estate, we didn't have the money either. But we found partners to give us that money. And then the bank gave us that money, and we bought real estate. Okay, so that's the key. It's using other people's money. And for the most part, you're using the banks. The bank is that other person that we're talking about. So when we say other people's money, vast majority of that is the bank. What you're needing investors or maybe joint venture partners for is to come up with this $100,000, okay, to buy an investment property. So that's using other people's money, but that's a whole nother topic. And again, like I said, we'll dive into that a little bit deeper in another session. But for this, I just wanted to show you the power of, instead of investing our money in one avenue, a mutual fund, a stock, a bond, whatever the case might be, sinking it all in, we only get a percentage. We only make money on that percentage depending on whatever that percentage that it goes up on. But when we use the power of leverage, we're using someone else, in this case the bank's money, to buy real estate. We're making money. We have $2.5 million in this case worth of real estate going up in value. Now that doesn't include the fact that our tenants are paying down the mortgage for us. It doesn't include the cash flow that we make on a monthly basis. It doesn't include the fact that you can increase the property's value by doing renovations, that sort of thing, to a property. So there's lots of different ways that you can make money in real estate. But the key here is using the power of leverage. And the lower we can lower that percentage, the higher amount of leverage we have. If we put 25% down, remember this, if we put 25% down, we're putting more than $100,000 down on this property. And our leverage is less. If we put 35% down, our leverage is even less. But if we're putting 10 or 15 or 20% down, the lower percentage that we're putting down on a property, the higher our leverage is, the more return on our investment we're going to make. And so that's what real estate can really do. And you know, we might say, well, the banking climate doesn't allow us to do more than 20 or less than 20% down. And that's true. To qualify for mortgages in Canada, at least right now, it's a minimum of 20% down that we have to do. But what we'll talk about a little bit later is where we get that 20% down and how we can get that from other people and other resources. And sometimes even the seller of a house can give that money to us. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I hope that clearly explains the power of using leverage in real estate versus not doing it. A lot of people might think, well, if I have $100,000, I'm going to go and buy a $100,000 property. I'm going to put it all in. I don't want to have a mortgage. I don't want to have that. But then you're losing the power of leverage. And that's really the key here. So a few thoughts we wanted to share with you, and hopefully that can be a bit of an aha moment for you, because I know when we first started, that's what changed things around for me, was when we realized how we could leverage the bank's money and we could use that to make money for ourselves. That was a huge turning point for us.